Good morning. Welcome to episode 44 of Exploring Economic Development with MEDC. My name is Meredith Harris, and I am joined today by my co-host, Jillian Roberts.
Hello, Meredith.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. We've
Great.
had some awesome weather. Now it's getting a little rainy, which is
I'm a little
fine.
tan. Got a little bit of a tan.
A little bit of tan. Yep. Excited to roll into the summertime with
Yeah.
here in the city of Marlborough.
Lots going on.
So many things to look forward to this summer. Got our pop-up shops.
The shops are
New
open.
store opening right on Main Street.
That's right.
Food truck festival at the end of the summer.
At the end of the summer. Don't rush it.
I know, but it's my favorite.
Don't rush it.
Okay, sorry.
But these are all things that we're going to talk about today
Absolutely.
during our episode. But before we get to any of that, we've got to recap the last episode we had on episode 43, Jim Nee from the MetroWest Regional Transit Authority,
Got it.
also known as the MWRTA.
Yes.
It was a really great episode.
Awesome episode. I feel like I learned a lot about their overall mission and all the things that they do. We had this great clip of him showing some of the map and the infrastructure. Really, really interesting. So
It was cool.
If you didn't check out that episode, go back and watch it on YouTube, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and actually WMCT TV right down the hall from us.
Mhm.
Also is live streaming this now. They're doing such a great job over there.
Love
So
them.
you can catch it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked all things transportation. Today, we're going to talk things all visitors.
Yeah.
Tourism, everything that's going on. So without further ado, I want to
Yes.
introduce our guest, Stacey David from the MetroWest Boston Visitors Bureau.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Stacey, thanks for joining us this morning. So we're going to talk a little bit about regional tourism, how Marlborough plays a part in the, can we call it is it the MB? It used to just be the MetroWest Visitors Bureau. So now it's the MBVB.
MBVB.
Okay. So I got to remember that. But we've been partners for many
Many
years and really appreciate the partnership and appreciate everything you guys do to help us promote the City of Marlborough, which is what we do every day. So it's great to have a regional partner that's helping us complete that mission. But before we get into the MBVB, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you kind of got into this industry?
Sure. And I would just like to say that you guys have been fantastic partners. So we really love the partners in the region that are always willing to say yes and happy to play. And so that's been fantastic. So
We love to say yes.
happy to be here this morning and
Thank you.
always happy to promote Marlborough.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
so my background is really arts and cultural in many different ways. So a lot of arts and cultural marketing, some arts and cultural event planning and things like that. I've been involved in public art projects, sat on cultural district boards and cultural councils and things like that. So I've been involved in arts and culture for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
In the area. And so I sat on the board of the Visitors Bureau for many years and then joined as deputy director about almost 2 years ago now, a little over a year and a half ago, and stepped in as executive director in September. So
Congratulations.
thank you. It's been a whirlwind, but a lot of fun. And there's obviously a huge overlap between just general arts and cultural marketing and what you see with the Visitors Bureau, because the Visitors Bureau promotes arts and culture. So
Right.
it was a nice sort of segue for me and a nice fit, and it's been great. It's been a whirlwind, but so much fun.
You're great in the role.
Thank you so much.
You are, and we've really enjoyed getting to know you over the couple of years that you've been with the board and with the organization. But you really are thriving in the role, and we appreciate all that you're doing to help us promote Marlborough and
Thanks so
in the
much.
region. So let's talk a little bit about. So some people might be watching and saying, "Well, what is a regional tourism bureau, and what do they do?" So can you tell us a little bit about the MBVB and maybe some of the regional tourism councils in general? What do they do?
Sure. And it is sort of a unique role because we are an independent nonprofit. However, we get state funding. And so we have this sort of dotted line relationship with the state. MOT, who is what we lovingly refer to as MOT, is the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism. So they're the official state bureau. The state has designated 16 RTCs, which are regional tourism councils, which we are one of. So that is a state designation. If you live anywhere in Metro West, you know that people define Metro West very differently. So there's lots of different Metro West organizations that have different groupings of towns. So it can be a little bit confusing. For our purposes, it's what the state has defined as our region, which is 19 towns. I believe we have a map that we're going to pop into here, but we basically run a north-south corridor from Hudson on the north to Franklin on the south. We have Wayland and Natick on the east, and we run to Westboro, Northborough on the west. So it's that sort of north-south corridor of our region.
So that's really interesting because you'd think like Franklin, Marlborough, so different. And we talk about this too when even last month when we were talking to Jim Nee about the breadth of the communities that you serve. There's so many differences between all of them. Does that play into kind of what you guys do, or how does that impact your work that you're doing?
Yeah, and it's very interesting because there are other RTCs that have a much smaller footprint. So, for example, Nantucket is its own RTC.
Okay.
That's a very different way to market when you're marketing one town on one island versus 19 towns, right? Boston and its sort of metro area is another RTC, and people kind of know what that means. When you have a region like ours, which is quite disparate in terms of the attractions and just the geographic footprint, it can make it a little challenging. And I think one of the other challenges we face is that people don't necessarily think MetroWest, that's where I'm going on vacation, right? And so there is some challenge involved in how to present that and how to present it in a way where people think, oh, yes, that's a destination as opposed to a place I drive through on the way to the Cape or on the way to Boston or on the way to the Berkshires, right? So yeah, it does play into how we do things. And so one of the things that we have done a lot of in the last year and a half is marketing through itineraries.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is great. And I think we do it for a variety of reasons. One is that people's attention spans are very short these days.
Yeah.
And their available free time to plan a vacation is short.
Sure.
And so if you can plan something out for them, it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
But it also makes it easy for people who say, gee, I don't really know what MetroWest has to offer. Or to your point of, hey, I live in Hudson, what is there in Franklin, or vice versa? It just makes it easier. And so we plan out itineraries that can often be 2 or 3 days, though around school vacation weeks, we usually do a 4 or 5 day itinerary as well. But it gives people the idea of what there is to see and do in a specific area.
Well, and even, I mean, so we're talking about how the differences between all the communities, but even like us versus Hudson or what's like, we're all so different just right here within our neighbors. So I'm going on a vacation next week, and that is exactly the first thing I looked for was some of those pre-planned itineraries, because it makes it so much easier for you to be able to say like, okay, this is my interest, or this is what I like to do. Can you help me figure out what's the best restaurant, or, what are some cool things I don't know about? So that's a really cool resource for people to be able to use.
Definitely. And even in your same community, you have people with totally different interests, right? In Marlborough, we've got the museum on the streets, and that's something I wasn't even aware that we had for a long time, but that would be a great thing to do.
And for a corporate traveler too. So like if someone's coming in for a couple of days and they're saying, okay, I have one day of downtime before my flight. What's a few things I can do right off the bat? That's really valuable.
And we're seeing a lot of what they're calling Bleisure travel. I don't know if you've come across.
What is Bleisure travel? I'm learning something new.
This is a new term. So this is something that's really cropped up in the industry in the last probably year or two. And it's something people have done for a number of years, but became really prevalent during and since COVID, which is the idea of mixing business with leisure, hence the term Bleisure, right? And so the idea is people who are traveling for business, but either spend a couple of extra days just as vacation time. So maybe they have a Thursday, Friday meeting, but they spend the weekend, right? Or because so many people are able to do remote work these days, they come for a business trip, spend another couple of days actually working in that location, but it gives them mornings and evenings to go out and do something fun, right?
That's great.
So we're seeing a lot of this kind of bleeding of work and leisure into each other. And consequently, to your point, people will say, gee, I've never been to this area before. What can I see and do?
Right.
And being able to give them sort of a quick snapshot of, hey, you're in Marlborough for a conference, this is what you want to do for those couple of extra days, or, wherever you happen to be, just making it easy for them so that they get out of a hotel room and go do something fun. And from an economic development standpoint, spend a little more money in the community where they're staying is always good. So we try to provide some of that information just to make it easy.
Well, and there's so much to offer.
Yeah.
There is.
There really is, and it's amazing. Even residents, you check out some of these itineraries, different things like we've talked about for years, like this almost like vacation in your backyard type of thing. But it's real. I mean, there's things in your own community or in your own region that you don't even realize because you've just been here your whole life, or you're just not paying attention to it. But
and usually to find those things, you have to be on social media. Not everyone's on social media, so to have something be posted on a website that's accessible to people. That's huge because, I mean, I've gone on vacations and then I joined the local town to see if I can find the inside scoop on where to go. It's like there's so much troubleshooting just to try to get that information. So,
but I think, I mean, I think that people almost expect it now in today's day and age. Like, again, I'm going away next week. Can't wait, as if you couldn't tell.
Are you
really excited?
Vacation?
I'm going on vacation next week. I don't know if you guys know that, but literally the first thing I did was go and find their like regional tourism bureau and follow them on Instagram, and have been following all week trying to see like, okay, what's the weather like? What specials are coming up? What kind of live music? Because I think in today's day and age, that's what people, they're instant gratification. You want to know what's going on all the time right at your fingertips.
Right. And we changed our visitor's guide last year. We threw out the old style of guide. As anybody who has ever picked up a visitor's guide in a welcome center knows, the old style of guide is 50 to 75% ads, and then a whole bunch of what amounts to phone book listings of places, right?
Right.
And we looked at that and we said, that's great if you already know an area because it's a popular vacation destination, and so you know all the big places and you just needed an address or a URL, right? It's useless if you don't know the area at all, because there's nothing about that style of guide that says, why should I go to that place, right? There's no kind of inspiration to it. So we threw that style out a year and a half ago, started a new style, and it, like our website, is itinerary driven.
Okay.
And so the idea is that it's very content heavy. There's very little advertising. There's a handful of pages of advertising at the back. But the rest of it is itineraries and content. So we have, a history lovers and an outdoor recreation and a arts and culture lovers kind of itinerary for people to be able to say, what should I go see and do if I have this kind of interest? And each place has a little description. So it gets kind of the juices flowing when it comes to travel planning to get people excited. Right.
All right. So you said there's 16 tourism bureaus throughout the state of Massachusetts.
Correct.
How are you all structured? How are you guys funded? I know you mentioned there's a little bit of state funding, but how does that all work? Everybody's different, I assume?
Everybody's a little different. And I think that's because we are all independent organizations. So many of them are combination Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. CVB is another sort of acronym that you'll hear a lot, which is Convention and Visitors Bureau. And so a lot are Chamber/CVBs. We're a little bit unique in that we're not. We're a standalone Visitors Bureau. Makes the funding a little more challenging.
Sure.
So we get half of our funding from the state, and the other half is a match. So we are required to do a dollar-for-dollar match through private funding or any other grants that we apply for, which can't be state funding. It can be private grants. I wish we didn't have to. I wish that we could just do everything we do for free for everybody, but unfortunately that's not the case. And so we have our funding sources are memberships, the guide advertising that we do, and then we have a couple of other campaigns. So we have co-op advertising, which is basically crowdsourced kind of advertising, right? So people can buy into ads that we do, which is also subsidized by us. And then we have some other things like banner advertising and newsletter advertising through our sources that we have as well. So that's kind of our funding model. Some of the other RTCs that have a chamber affiliate, they use some of their chamber memberships go towards their match, but we're all required to do a one-to-one match for state funding dollars.
So you mentioned members, like who would be a member of the MBVB?
Lots of different organizations sort of fall under this umbrella. It's one thing that's nice for us because tourism and hospitality covers a whole range of different kind of industries. So classically, obviously, are hotels and restaurants. But there's more than that. So there's attractions, arts and culture, as I mentioned, but also retail. So we tend to promote a lot of independent retail. So you don't see a lot of big box stores listed on our website because nobody goes on vacation to shop at a big box store,
Right.
unless they're running an errand because they need to pick up something
They
they've
know
forgotten their
where
toothpaste.
they can find it. Right.
Right, exactly. They tend to look for things like gift shops and
Unique
specialty
things.
retail
Yes.
and that kind of thing. So those are the kinds of retail that tend to be members of us. And then we do have things like state parks and those kind of things that are listed on our website because outdoor recreation is a big draw for the region. So those are who our members are. We also do have sponsors, and those tend to be non-tourism and hospitality related, larger corporations that step up to sponsor the Visitors Bureau because
they see the value.
They see the value, right? They're a good community partner, and they see the fact that we are promoting the region as a great place to not only live and play, but to work.
Right.
And so we get some of those area corporations that like to help us out, which we very much appreciate in that
It's funny.
regard.
So you said outdoor recreation. So I'm sure you've seen the new Boardwalk in Marlborough that was just
Which
open.
is beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. Great asset for the community. We were all kind of laughing on Monday morning because over the weekend, it was a very busy weekend in Marlborough. There was a lot going on. We had the car show downtown. There was the Brazilian Fest. There was graduation. There was just a lot happening. And the Boardwalk was featured on CVB Boston last week.
Yeah.
So on top of all we had going on, there was people coming from all over to just check out the board. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And so there was traffic. Traffic was crazy coming into Marlborough off of 495. And we were kind of laughing of like, wow, I guess this is it's a good thing.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have.
Yep.
But then the next morning I got a text message from Mike Covino at Niche Hospitality, so the owner of the Fix Burger Bar, saying, thank you so much. You know, my business is booming because of this boardwalk that's right across the street. People are walking and then they're coming in. And so to your point, they see the value, you know, the corporate partners, they're directly being impacted by people wanting to come and visit the assets that are throughout Marlborough and the region.
And I think, you know, I'm sure you guys have talked on other episodes and to other people about the fact that, you know, there's a labor shortage still.
Yep.
And one of the things that we hear very frequently, not only from tourism and hospitality companies, but other companies, is that with this whole idea of I can live anywhere and work for you, it's really hard to find employees that are willing to move.
Right.
And people meaning corporations are looking to get employees back in the office.
Yeah.
And so having any way to be able to say to prospective employees, this really is a great place to live, right? You do want to come move here from wherever you happen to live at the moment, right?
Right.
Come live here and work here, I think is an asset. And so it is something that we're trying to do is help those area corporations out to say, you know, this is something you can showcase to people as to why they want to move here as opposed to staying wherever they currently are.
Right. And I know we've talked on other podcasts too, just so like Marlborough is really unique when it comes to tourism. And like we have a huge corporate travel population that comes in, you know, throughout the week. But then the weekends, the sports center is a major driver. You know, we've got over about 1 million visitors a year that come to Donald Lynch Boulevard to play hockey or to do figure skating or whatever it may be. And then they're here. They need something to do when they're here. So they're looking at those itineraries. They're eating at the Fix Burger, but you know, they're doing that stuff, going onto the boardwalk, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to think about where people are coming from, you know, and then what are their interests going to be when they get here.
Right. And we find for sports in particular, more often than not, particularly when it comes to youth sports, you're looking at a family that's coming, right? A 13-year-old is not coming on their own
Hopefully
to go play hockey. Right? we discourage that. But very often it's not just a parent and the child. It's the whole family that comes.
Right.
And so then
they're making a trip of it.
They're making a trip of it, right? And it's also what do you do with the siblings, right? So if Johnny and Dad are out playing hockey, what are Mom and Sally and Bobby doing, right?
And they're over at the Apex.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's part of also what we have looked at is how can we provide itineraries and information to those people coming in.
Right.
So this year, for example, we partnered with Surf, who brings in a bunch of soccer tournaments, right? And we provided them with a digital guide that they could put on their tournament website to say, hey, families coming into the area, what would you like to do in your downtime in between games? Or for the other members of the family that are coming that aren't actually playing, what could you go see and do? Because that's hard, particularly because a lot of these families, it's not a vacation in the
And they don't have a
sense
lot of time to be
right.
researching
There,
this stuff
Yeah.
either.
and that was exactly it,
Yeah.
right? It's not like we're planning a vacation and so
Right.
mom is spending 12 hours on the computer
Nope.
planning this out. It's, hey, we have a game to go to. And so we're just packing up and going. And then
Right.
you get there and you're
What are we
kind of
going to
like,
do in the meantime?
yeah, now
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
So we're trying to help out some of those families do that kind of thing also.
So do you partner with other, I know you partner with all of your municipalities and the cities and towns that you work with, but what about other RTCs? Do you guys ever cross collaborate or is there any type of partnership there?
We do. And in a couple of different ways. So we have gotten a $1 million joint grant with DCM, which is Discover Central Mass, which is just west of us. So Worcester down to Sturbridge kind of area. And Visit North Central Mass, which is Fitchburg, Wachusett, the whole area north and northwest of us. And so the three of us together make up Central Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mott, the state agency, has deemed us a super region. So they've combined RTCs to create these 6 super regions. And they had some federal COVID recovery money that they were able to give out. So we got a 2-year $1 million grant to do joint programming between the three of us.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing because it has allowed us to do some large projects that we could not afford on our own with our own budget. So we've done a huge 2-year PR campaign. We have done some video commercials, and they are running OTT, which is like streaming services, as well as in flight. So when you get on a flight and you go to plug into Wi-Fi and it makes you watch that 30-second commercial first, that would be us.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we have a couple of different airlines that we're running commercials on. So
that's probably great for Worcester too with the airport.
it is great for Worcester.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
so that's part of why we did in
Yeah.
flight. And then we've done some bigger print campaigns and things like that. So we do a lot of partnership things like that. But that has spurred us to do some other independent partnership ideas also. So we partnered with Discover Central Mass for an international campaign last year. The Dutch market happens to be an up-and-coming market for us. And so we did some both PR and advertising with a couple of Dutch publications in partnership together.
No, why? Why is the Dutch market up and coming for MetroWest?
So we have 6 markets that we have identified as being big international markets for us. The Dutch market we love because they have said to us, I've met with a couple of different Dutch travel agents, and they've said to us, you know, in American parlance, that they feel like the redheaded stepchild, right? Meaning that they're not one of the top 3, but they're 4.
Okay.
in international travel, and
Love
so they
it.
feel like they don't get the love that
love.
some of the top 3 get. And so we have said we'll love you.
We want to love you.
You'll
We
be
wanna
in our
love you.
top 3.
You can be in our top 3. So our top 6 that we really target, including the Dutch, we get a ton from UK and Ireland, but we are also targeting right now the Germans. We have huge German groups that come in. So Germany is a huge market for us right now. France and Italy are big markets for us.
So are they coming to like Boston and then they end up coming and staying out this way?
Yes, and part of it is that particularly for European travelers, they are what we call a long haul travelers.
Yep.
So they're not popping in for 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming for 10 days is the minimum.
Yeah.
2 weeks is the average, but 3 weeks and more is common.
Oh, wow.
Now, they don't obviously tend to stay in one spot for 3 weeks.
Right.
They tend to travel around, but that's actually good for us because what happens is they will fly in often either to New York or to Boston, depending on where direct flights are. And then they will travel either from New York up through to Boston or vice versa. And to do that, guess what? You have to travel through MetroWest.
Right.
So we are capturing a lot of that market. We're also seeing that people coming back from COVID are still very cost conscious, and MetroWest has this unique position of being close to everything and yet
More
way less
affordable.
expensive
Yeah,
than staying in Boston, for example, right?
Right.
And so people who want to come for a week, see Boston, but see other places as well,
This is a great option.
it's a great option. So we've put together what we call hub and spoke tours. The idea is that we are the hub. So you stay here and just like a wheel, you travel out on spokes.
And you can get
for
there
day
from
trips.
here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that has resonated really well with our international clientele. clientele because they can come, unpack once, but
Yeah.
do all these day trips to all sorts of areas that are easy from us. So that has really gone over very, very well with those.
Well, it's
those
interesting
markets.
too when you talk about the partnerships and like even thinking of Wachusett, like it's a great little mountain that you can get to. It's close by.
Right.
It has everything you need right there. I mean, like you don't have to travel very far from
You
here
don't.
to do a lot of different things.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And the arts and culture scene around us is huge. We have a lot here in Marlborough, but there's a lot around us in our surrounding communities, and there's history. I mean, you really can find pretty much anything you're looking for right here, you know, not just in Marlborough. You can find it all here in Marlborough, but our region does have a lot to offer, right?
Yes. And I think that one of the things that we have been seeing as a growing trend in lots of different markets is this idea of sort of hidden gems,
Mhm.
right? Most people who have ever traveled to New England have gone to Boston, and they've seen all the big Boston attractions and landmarks. And so now people are looking for, well, what's off the beaten path?
Right.
And we see that not only for leisure travelers, but we see that for business travelers. We see that for people who are looking to put together a big conference or event
Sure.
where they say, you know, we want something unusual. We want something different. And
Right.
so that has been really great for us because, you know, hey, we have all the hidden gems,
We've
right?
got all the
So
hidden
we get
gems.
people to come out to us and find these unique, interesting,
Cool
unusual
things.
that are off the beaten path.
Right.
Exactly.
So, all right, I want to switch gears a little bit about, you've talked about the mini grants and kind of some of the funding. I want to talk a little bit about some of our mini grants and the things that we've done
Sure.
together, just so people understand. I mean, you're talking about international PR and things like, what does that look like? So for us, we partner, one of our biggest projects, I think, would be the Phantom Gourmet project that we've been able to do together for several years. Gosh,
Yes.
like 5 years at this point. You know, but that's huge for us and for Marlborough and for the region. And, you know, what other types of mini grants are other communities doing, or, you know, just ones that stick out in your mind that you guys are able to partner on?
Sure. So just a little background on the mini grants themselves. We take a portion of our funding every year and we re-grant it to organizations within the region.
Mhm.
You have to be a member to get a mini grant, but our memberships start at $100 and go up. So
Yep.
most of our mini grant recipients get many, many times whatever their membership cost was back
Right.
in mini grant funding. This year, and for several years now, we have covered fairly large percentages of people's projects. They range anywhere from a straight up marketing project, like say a brochure or signage or things like that.
Our dining guide's another great
Dining
example
guides,
of
right? We
that.
did a dining guide with you. We've done it in the past and we're doing it again this year.
Yeah.
So those are great projects, but we also do a lot of advertising projects and things as well. And what happens is people apply to us, and we then, this year we were covering 25% of people's projects. So huge project, as you say, with Phantom Gourmet with you guys. We've done huge projects with the American Heritage Museum up in Hudson. So
Great.
phenomenal
Hidden gem.
museum.
Again, a hidden gem,
A
right?
hidden gem, right?
Yeah.
They opened in 2019. Not a lot of people know about them yet, unfortunately, but it's something we've been promoting a lot because they are a fantastic museum. If you don't know them, I suggest you check
Yeah,
them
it's
out.
really cool.
They have a great collection of antique tanks, aircraft, cars, primarily World War I and forward, though they do have some other historic artifacts and pieces from as far back as the Revolutionary War, immersive exhibits that they do and living history events and things like that. And they are also phenomenal partners of ours. So we're partnering with them. They got an enormous mini grant to do a lot of advertising with them. We also support Hopkinton Center for the Arts. We do a lot with them.
Mhm.
They're another great not only performing arts, but visual arts center down in Hopkinton. They do a ton of classes and performances there. Another great partner. We've partnered with the 26.2 Foundation, which, if you don't know them, they are the ones who partner with Boston Marathon to provide the gold crowns to the marathon winners.
Yep.
But they are also in the process of building the International Marathon Museum, which is going to be a fantastic draw for the region when that
Yeah,
opens
that's
up,
awesome.
which is going to be great. So they're another good partner. So we do We do anywhere from, I think the fewest we've done was 6, but usually we have at least a dozen or so mini grant recipients a year.
We love it.
Which is great. A
Yeah.
lot are nonprofits, but not everybody is a nonprofit. We do support for-profit organizations
Sure.
through the mini grant program as well, which is great. So some of the hotels do reach out and
Yep.
do mini grants through us, and some restaurants as well. So it's a great program. It's free money. So,
Yeah.
you know, we
like free money.
Everybody likes free money.
Me too. So we're talking about bringing all these people in. So in your own words, Stacey, how does tourism impact economic development? And also, how does economic development impact tourism? Like, how do they play together? What's the relationship there?
You know, it's interesting because I think a lot of people sort of discount tourism as being, oh, that's one of those fluffy things. We don't really need to support that, right? Tourism is the 3rd largest industry in Massachusetts. So it is a huge economic driver. In MetroWest alone, we bring in, and I have some facts and figures for you, $1,086 million of tourism spending just in MetroWest.
Just in MetroWest.
Just in MetroWest in 2022.
Wow.
And that was coming out of COVID. So 2023 and 4, we're expecting those numbers to be larger.
Right.
More people are traveling, obviously,
Right.
now. We have about 8.5 million visitors to just MetroWest every year. So it is significant. It is
Right.
not just, a few people that come, right? So
Right.
it is a significant driver. Not only does that impact, obviously, the actual tourism and hospitality businesses who, you know, the hotels and the restaurants and all of that, there's obviously trickle-down spending that happens because, hey, you went to CVS to pick up toothpaste that you forgot,
Right.
or all those
Right.
other
Gas
incidental
tank.
spending,
Right.
you know, gas stations and everything else that you
Uber.
do.
Yeah.
Ubers, exactly. So there's a lot of additional spend that happens that we can't even track.
Right.
That is part of that. But there's also an enormous amount of money that gets impacted in state and local taxes. So that spend in MetroWest in 2022 generated $96 million in state and local taxes.
Wow.
So enormous impact to the municipalities as well that comes from that. So we feel like it is a really important piece of the economy in MetroWest.
Absolutely.
And that it goes hand in hand with so many other economies and industries within the region because of those crossovers.
Well, it's funny. So I think I'm sure we've talked about this on another podcast, but MEDC is funded solely through the economic development the hotel tax.
The hotel tax.
So the hotel tax was implemented, but it can only be used for economic development. And kind of the thought process way back when was we're not going to tax our residents. We're going to actually tax people that are coming in, visitors or folks that are coming into our community, and put that back into economic development.
Absolutely.
Which I think is huge and very clever of you guys. If
yeah,
I
it
may
wasn't
say so.
me. I promise. It wasn't me.
But a smart move, right? Because
Right.
what you have done by doing that is you have enhanced the town as a place that people then want to visit, right? So it comes full circle of you're putting that money back into promoting the city as a whole and creating a place that people want to then come back to, right? So it snowballs, which is enormous.
And a lot of the times, I mean, again, we're a huge corporate travel community, and a lot of times you don't even notice it on the bill. I hate to say that because I'm not pro taxes, but I mean that's something. It's a small amount that people don't even notice.
It's not as though you're hitting people for these huge dollars,
and it has a major
percentage.
impact.
Major impact.
And we're able to use that money to then put back into the community to make it a great place, a quality of life, place where people want to live, work, play. But then also with the employee attraction, helping the companies that are helping support all of this infrastructure with being able to continue to attract the employees to work in their companies. And we were actually just doing a pitch earlier this week, and the Boardwalk came up more than once, of a reason why your employees are going to want to be here every day and spend their time here, and why they would want to move here to work here.
Right. And I think that's, again, it's a win-win, right? It was funny when you mentioned the Boardwalk. I was driving in very early this morning because I sat and had a meeting with you before this one. So at 7:30 in the morning, there were people crossing the Boardwalk that I passed when I passed the burger place. So it was just really interesting to see that people, even though it's a brand new thing, people are already out in droves enjoying the benefits that you guys have provided here.
Right. And early in the morning too, which is kind of cool.
On a rainy day.
On a rainy day.
Yeah.
I know. So the governor's conference is here. So they brought back the Travel and Tourism Conference, which had been gone for several years.
Several years, yes.
So what does that mean for you guys? Is that good? obviously that's good news. You're getting a little bit more attention than you were before, right?
It's good news. It's good news. We're delighted that the governor has been vocally pro tourism and hospitality, which is fantastic. And I think because the lieutenant governor comes from Salem, and Salem is obviously an enormous tourist draw. She also sees the actual economic value of tourism. So we're very, very pleased that the administration has vocally recognized that. The governor's conference was phenomenal this year. It was a jam-packed day, and we loved every minute of it.
We were dancing. We had honestly, they had this really
Should
cool.
have cut to some footage of the dancing. No,
I think I just did that for you.
Right? Yes, you did. You did. We don't need.
But they had like a band. It was awesome. Me and Lindsay were there.
It was great, and it was everything from arts and culture to AI. I mean, it was really an exciting conference. It was very interesting things. I met loads of people, some of whom I have known in past lives, and it was fun to connect with again, and some that were brand new. So that was great. My understanding is that next year, instead of being a one-day conference, they're looking to do a two-day conference, which is what it used to be many years ago. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do next year.
Build in some Bleisure, right?
Build in some Bleisure with that, exactly.
Well, I found it really interesting because I attended one of the seminars was on the movie industry. And so for, I'm going to this conference saying, okay, how do we get more movies in Marlborough? And so, those are the things that you don't really think about where then that's considered travel and tourism because there's people coming in to shoot the film and they're going to stay here and they're going to eat here. And so it's interesting when you just scratch the surface. There's so much there.
Yeah. Well, and it's really funny that you mentioned Marlborough with that. So Knives Out, which many people have seen, right? There are scenes from Marlborough that were filmed for Knives Out. There are some scenes in Natick as well. And I've had people actually say to me, I know that spot, right? That car chase scene happened to be, I've stood on that corner kind of thing, which is always really fun.
Well, makes you feel really like it's yours.
Like it's yours. Yeah. Exactly. You have a little ownership stake in that, which is really fun. And so we have been trying to bring more
to promote that.
There have been both TV and films that have been filmed all over the region. Little Women part of it was filmed in Franklin.
Yeah.
Julia, which is I think just finishing their second season, was filmed in Framingham, which is a great TV series about Julia Childs.
Yeah.
So there have been things that have been filmed all around.
There's one that I remember when I first started at MEDC. I think it's Super Troopers 2, which is
your favorite film.
Yeah, my favorite film, absolutely. Only because Marlborough City Hall is actually like downtown Marlborough, Main Street. They went down. It's really it's quick second, but it's in there.
Right.
You're like,
right.
I'm like, hey, yeah, exactly. Hey, I know that place. I know that place.
Well, and
really
I will say for, any viewers out there, if you have a location that you would like to be considered as a film location, the film office has a website where you can go register your location and it can then be considered. So what happens is
it's cool.
It's really cool. When a director or producer is looking for locations, they can go in and search this database.
Right.
And it's everything from actual locations, both indoors and outdoors, but it's also things.
Right.
So the American Heritage Museum, as we mentioned, they have a lot of their things that are listed there. So a film director can go in and say, I need a B-52 bomber or a tank, and they have used a lot of their historic tanks in films before, that they come in and they rent a tank for a day and they go and use that on location, which is really exciting. So, all
right. So you talked about the itineraries. Mm-hmm. What are some other unique, creative ways that you guys are promoting the region? One that I have in my mind that you called us probably about a year ago, and there was an influencer that was staying in, to think about an influencer coming to Marlborough or to MetroWest, seems so out of the realm, but that's the kind of stuff that is going on, right?
That's the kind of stuff that we're doing. And again, it goes back to that sort of hidden gems idea. The enormous explosion of social media in recent years means that yes, there are some people who will pick up a photer's guide to plan their trip, but more and more we are hearing that people are planning things based on what they see on social media.
Yeah.
So they follow bloggers or they'll follow a particular influencer that is a travel type poster, and they will scan through Instagram to decide where they're going. Yeah. And so if that is how your market is planning, then you have to be there too, or they're not going to include you in the planning. So we are bringing in anywhere from 8 to 10, sometimes up to 12 or more influencers every year. Some of those are content creators, so they might not have a huge following, but they create great content for us that we then use on our social media channels. And some of them are true what you think of as influencers because they have hundreds of thousands or more followers.
Right.
And they will come in and we give them an itinerary to follow. Sometimes we pay them to follow that.
Sure.
Sometimes we just give them some ideas and it's a little bit more kind of
Organic.
PR focused and organic in the sense that we don't control the message. But we give them some ideas and they will travel around and they create posts and they visit places and reels and videos and all those great things that social media has to encourage people to come in.
Well, and it's a good way, like if you want to beat the crowds, right? Or you want to go to some, off the beaten path, again, that hidden gems idea or things that are not, the big places that have all the marketing dollars, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of more organic, unique ways to find something to do, right?
Right. And we try to give them some sort of interesting themes or ideas, right? So last fall, we had one influencer that came and did a tour of all the sort of fall fun on the farms.
We have a lot of that.
Which is a ton of that in MetroWest. And one of my favorite photos is her holding a cider donut, right? And it's just her hand in a cider donut from Hanson's farm, right? But it's like, this is the best cider donut I had this weekend kind of thing, right? And that gets people out because they want to go see, well, boy, that was a great looking cider donut. Where can I get that, right? And so we do a lot of that kind of thing. We do that free for our members and we reach out to municipalities and we say, hey, we've got an influencer coming in and where do you suggest that we send them? What's up and coming? And we count on organizations like yours to keep us in the loop on what is new and interesting and different and cool and just open to send people to it. And it's just a free bonus of marketing that we do.
And that's like Phantom Gourmet is almost an influencer in their own right? I mean, like that's exactly what happens is so they'll come out and they go to one of our restaurants and they do a live for 5 minutes and then the restaurants are like people come swarming, so it does work.
It does work.
People do follow and they listen and they take the advice. So
it's the power of mass media, right? And so whatever we can do to capitalize on that, we try to do.
I don't think people realize that there's like an arm or a group that's actually doing that, so it's really, it's great to have you here because I think people are going to be really interested to hear about this whole other, thing or machine that's working behind the scenes to ensure that that's continuing to happen.
Right. And what we like to say to people that, we are basically an extension of their marketing department, or in some cases we are their marketing department, right? For really small little organizations, we could be all the advertising marketing that they do could come through us, right? And we do all of that for our members very often for free, just as part of their membership. We also have a social media agency now, which I adore because I'm too old to really
never too old, Stacey,
to really be up on what I should be doing with social media. So I love the fact that they really get it.
It's a business in and of itself.
It's a business in and of itself,
and
an enormous time-consuming task to post, and they post daily for us.
Yeah, that's awesome
on all of our channels. So it's amazing to see what they can do for us too.
So we just had your website up on the screen, and so anybody that's interested in what you guys are doing or to become a member or anything like that, we've got the website, the URL right up here on the screen.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Make sure that people go check it out. So
you can sign up for a newsletter there too. So even if you don't want to sign up for membership, but you just want to know what's going on, we have a monthly newsletter that goes out with events and business
things
news
to
also.
do, right?
Things to do and business news. Yeah.
Build the itinerary. So believe it or not, we're out of time. But before we let you go, I know it goes so fast. What big events are coming up? Summer is here, almost here, right? Or summer's here. What things should people be looking for in the region over the next couple of months?
Loads of fun things. The thing I love about summer is it's kind of festival season in the region. So there's everything from a wide variety of pride festivals that are happening in June, which is always great. So there's several of those happening in the region. So go on our events calendar, you can see those. Several multicultural events that are happening. So festivals and things that are multicultural based. Marlborough obviously has a whole bunch of things that from what just started, as you mentioned, all the way through Labor Day with your enormous Labor Day festival, which is fantastic. There are a number of recurring events throughout the summer that some regions have. So, some towns have. So Southborough, for example, has a recurring food truck festival. So several different nights throughout the summer.
Oh, cool.
Natick and the Natick Cultural District has Natick Nights, which is a recurring every other week during the whole summer. They have vendors and performances and things like that happen, open studios. So I encourage people to look for that. There's a number of porch fests that are happening around the region, which is really fun. I think that's something that came out of COVID when we couldn't get together, but people loved it. So now it's a recurring thing.
Yeah.
Lots of July 4th festivals that are happening. Franklin has an enormous one with many nights of concerts and carnival and things like that. So I would say festivals are really the big thing in terms of events. Lots of outdoor rec, which we already mentioned. So
live music.
Parks,
we have the Thursday night Union Common concert series.
Summer concert series. Excuse me. Most towns are doing, not all, but most towns do have summer concert series.
Farmers markets.
Tons of farmers markets. Holliston has a brand new one, which I'm very excited about. It is being held on private property, I think for the first time. Don't quote me on that. But I think for the first time on private property. And the benefit of that is that they get to have a beer garden as part of
that's
it,
cool.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So loads of farmers markets that are happening.
Ours is actually run by Lost Shoe Brewing and Roasting in conjunction with the city. So you can actually go and grab like one of their drinks and walk the farmers market. It's really cool.
Which is really cool.
Yeah,
the thing I love about the farmers markets in MetroWest is that it's not just food. Clearly loads of produce
Vendors
and baked goods and that kind of thing. But lots of these markets have turned into destinations with live music and artisan crafts and petting zoos and all kinds of really fun things that go along with it. Yeah, lots of family fun. So it's a destination. It's not just a pop in for 10 minutes and grab some vegetables. But I love that about the region. So those are really
lots of
fun.
Partnerships. I think last year we had word on the street was coming down to the farmers markets every set and like doing like book readings for the kids. And like, so you're right. It's very dynamic.
Yeah.
It's not
very
just,
dynamic.
Traditional farmers markets anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And plug for Marlborough, you guys have more outdoor fun water activities than lots of the other towns. So splash pads and wading pools and the beach and lots of that kind of thing. So there's loads of good family fun that happens that is either free or very inexpensive.
I was shocked when I moved here and started working here of all the recreational activities and things for my kids. Just really, really cool. So you're right. We do lead the way in that sense.
Which is great. Which is great.
Stacey, thank you.
Yes,
this is great. So enlightening.
This has been so fun. So fun.
Anybody that wants to check out more about the MBVB, I'm so tripped up by that.
Sorry, we changed the name.
I know. That's okay, though. We like the new name. But anybody that would like more information to become a member or to sign up to check out the itineraries or to learn more that's going on in the region, please check out their website. And until we see you again, we'll be back in August. Everybody have a wonderful July. Everybody have a wonderful July season. It's so funny. We're not doing it every month anymore.
June and July.
So we will see you in a couple of weeks. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.